Hi, my name's Vienna, and for my bio in the news, I decided to do a prevention for Alzheimer's. So my popular article is from phys.org and was titled Anti-Amyloid Drug Shows Signs of Inventing Alzheimer's Dementia. The article describes a clinical study about an experimental drug called gantenerumab, which shows promise in delaying the onset of Alzheimer's-related dementia in people destined to develop the disease. Eventually, the study was done by the Knight family dominantly inherited Alzheimer network trials, also known as DIAN-2, where they found that early treatment with the gantenerumab meant to remove amyloid plaques from the brain years before the symptoms set in. The study was an international study done on 73 people with rare inherited genetic mutations, which is the Alzheimer's. Of those 73 participants, a subgroup of 22 received the drug for about 8 years, had a lower risk of developing symptoms by about 50%. Gantenerumab was eventually discontinued, and participants were switched to another drug called lecanemab, which was an anti-amyloid drug that was FDA approved. The author wasn't specified because this was a summary of a big research, and so it was provided by Washington University in St. Louis, and the main author of that was Randall J. Bateman, who is the study director of this study, actually. I trust this article because it was actually, again, it was actually a summary of the study provided by Washington University of Medicine. The study itself was conducted by an established research network and also had a clear methodology. The study is also transparent by allowing public access to all the details of the study and is actually registered with clinicaltrials.gov. And for my figure, I put um, a picture of a healthy brain versus a picture of an Alzheimer's disease brain taken by an MRI. As you can see, the healthy brain looks full. There doesn't look to be any damage compared to the Alzheimer's brain, where you see that the ventricles are a lot larger than they are on the healthy brain, just because you can see that the brain is also slowly collapsing inwards to itself, and you see that the hippocampus actually very obviously looks very damaged compared to the healthy brain. For my peer-reviewed article, I did an article titled Safety and Efficacy of Long-Term Gantenerumab Treatment in Dominantly Inherited Alzheimer's Disease, an open-label extension of the phase 2 of 3 multi-center randomized double-blind placebo-controlled DIAN-2 trial. And so this article describes the study conducted by the Dominantly Inherited Alzheimer Network Trials Unit, DIAN-2, on the use of high-dose gantenerumab in people with dominantly inherited Alzheimer's. And so the study was an open label extension of the DIAN-211 trial, which originally tested gantenerumab and solanezumab against a placebo, but it mainly focused on gantenerumab because of more promising results at removing amyloid plaque. The DIAN-2 trial was originally a 2-year study that was eventually transitioned to a 4-year treatment trial. And this original trial was 225 milligrams up to 1,200 milligrams subcutaneously every 4 weeks or a placebo. And during the OLE phase, which was considered a graduate trial, doses were titrated from 120 milligrams every 4 weeks up to 1,200 milligrams to maybe 1,500 milligrams every 2 weeks. And the average titration was 19 weeks for the planned OLE 3-year study. And so as it says here, the gantenerumab OLE was meant to treat eligible patients from DIAN-211 with a substantially increasing dose for 3 years. 73 people were enrolled and received the gantenerumab. 47 stopped treatment early due to termination of the study, but did complete 3 years of treatment, and 13 prematurely stopped for other reasons that were not shared. And there are multiple contributors to the study, but the first one listed is once again Dr. Randall J. Bateman, who is the Charles F. and Joanne Knight Distinguished Professor of Neurology. He is also the director of the Diane Trials Unit and so much more. His research is focused on physiology, and development of improved diagnostics and treatments for Alzheimer's disease, and he has published slash been part of 306 articles. There was funding from F. Hoffman, La Roche slash Genentech, which is the manufacturer of gantenerumab, and that could potentially be a conflict of interest. They also state that the company was a collaborator on the study and multiple employees are co-authors of the study. The study was terminated early by the sponsor, but there was no reason stated why it was terminated early. So I think that had a lot to do with it. So here are actually some images of from the peer-reviewed article. So this first figure is the primary outcome of the OLE, where it is just showing the amount of amyloid plaque in the brain and how scans are used to visualize and quantify the amount of amyloid. And so we can see that here. Here is like the gantenerumab sample size that they were getting. The OLE baseline of this specific one was 62. And so here's their gantenerumab, and here's the PET composite centilloid. And so you see how it's slowly diminishing, and it is showing like good results of um, no plaque being in the brain, compared to figure B, where it is a lower ratio, which is associated with the Alzheimer's. And you can see here the Kangaroo bag and the Senti marker. And so this is the actual Alzheimer's related numbers. And then we have this last one, which the right here you see the p tau, which is another marker of or another hallmark of ALS, and you can see how the elevated marker is showing an abnormal accumulation of the protein. And just this also has the gantenerumab sample size, time since baseline in years. And over here you see the tau, which is the hallmark for Alzheimer's. And so for the relation to BIO211, I put this as evolution because the study is the evolution to APP, PSEN1, and PSEN2 genes, which are the genes that mutated in early onset Alzheimer's by resulting in the overproduction of aggregation-prone amyloid and the accumulation of amyloid plaque. Understanding the mutation of these genes and their function can give insight to the development of the neurodegenerative diseases. And then here you see just a picture of what could be a depiction of an Alzheimer's brain. And so you see how we have our normal brain neurons and whatnot. And then here you see the Alzheimer's brain where you have the amyloid plaque and the neurofibrillary tangles in the neurons. And then over here, there's also a picture of the Alzheimer's as well as some other degenerative brain diseases. And then here are my references. Thank you for listening to my presentation.